Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Vita. Good evening, everyone.
Sir.
Good evening, Vita.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, dear. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Vita. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Sajid.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Vita. Good evening. Good evening, Vita. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, dear. Good evening. Is there anyone else in the waiting room right now? So I'm going to share my screen right now with you guys. And here I go. Okay, so today we are going to develop a full-fledged, communication system. So the first thing that I would like to tell you is the designing part, what all screens we will be using for coding this communication, two-way communication system. So this is a sign-in screen, and here when the user will, log in, or you can say when the user will open the app for the first time on his device, this is the first screen he's going to come across. Right, so this is a default screen. Okay, is anyone else in this waiting room right now? Okay. And after this, there is one more screen. Okay, on this sign-in screen, I have defined three components. One is this email, one is for this email button. Okay, second is for this password field, and third one is a label box which I have placed over this image on the submit button, so as to make it act like a button. Fine. I hope you guys remember this thing. This thing I've told you right in the first lecture. How can we make a part of a particular image behave as a button? So what we can do, we can place a label box over it, and after that we can define a code for that label. So this is the first screen. Fine. Once the user is done with creating his profile, I would like the user to come on this screen, that is screen 8. All of you, please put yourself on mute. Kindly put yourself on mute. Who is there on unmute right now? Okay, so once the user is done with creating his profile on this platform, he is going to get redirected on this screen, that is a screen 8. Fine. So it's a GIF image which you are seeing over here. How I have find it out on Google. You just have to search for this image like this. You can search for these kind of images by typing this thing here in this search bar of Google. Successful login GIF animated. So you guys can make use of these kind of images also if you want. See, it's a GIF image which you're seeing right now. Similarly, if you guys want, you guys can make use of these kind of images. Okay, and we have got lots more images on this Google here which you guys can make use of. So these are GIF images. Fine. See how beautiful this animation is. Similarly, if you want, you can make use of these kind of images also. Congratulations, great job, you work here. So these kind of images, they make the look of the app more good. Right now, if you'll add one more keyword here in this part, let's say clip art. So you're going to come across again some more good GIF screens. This is not so good, but yeah, this one is excellent. Okay. So these are some kind of images which you guys can make use of in your apps so as to make it look more good, make it look more interactive. See. Okay, so the keywords that you have to remember is
Sir, how these GIFs have been created?
How these GIFs have been created. See, we can create it using Flash. There is a software called Adobe Flash, or there are various animation software with which we can create these GIF images.
Okay, sir.
Okay, you can create it, using
Okay, sir.
PowerPoint also if you want. It's also very good software which you can make use of for
Okay, sir.
creating animations. So once the user is done with coming on this coming on this screen, he is going to hit this screen and he is going to get redirected here on this screen 9. Now here I have got a what is this? This is a drop down box which I have placed over here, and this is the text area. This component text area. Okay, this I have placed it over here on this mobile simulator. This is a simple label box. This is a button over here, and this is a text input box. Fine. Now how I am going to code this app, that's what we are going to check out. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to define the code for this component, for this button, which we have defined on this sign-in screen. So for doing that, let me enlarge the size of the screen. Do you guys know how you can enlarge the size of the screen and decrease the size of this window? Do you guys know about this?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I know,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Sir, we have to
Control plus,
press
control
control
minus.
and then sir we have to there is a mouse roller. Sir, then we have to move it to up. The mouse roller and we have to press control key.
And sir,
What you
press control plus.
Absolutely correct here. So what you guys can do in order to increase the size of this window, you can press control and plus key together. So it is going to increase the size of your window, and if you are pressing control and minus key together, it is going to reduce the size of your window like this. Fine, so I am going to increase its size so that the code which I'm going to define here on this workspace can be more visible to every one of you. So we are going to code for this button which we have got on this sign in screen. Let's make use of this on even block and put it over here. Now the ID of this button is submit. We need to select submit from this drop down, and all of you please be on mute till the time I am done with explaining my part. So when the user will hit this submit button, I would like a table to get created on the data browser, which is connected to this app. Let's name it as users. So a table with name users is going to get created. Okay, and inside this, I would like to store two information. One is the email ID, which the user is going to enter here in this what we call component, text input component, and the second is the password. Fine. So for doing that, what I can do, I can define the first column like this, name. Okay, and the second column is going to be password. Now for this name part, I'm going to get the input from this component, that is email in. The name of this component is email in. I'm going to take this get text block from here and put it over here. So basically create record block we use for creating tables on data browser and storing the information in the same. Is there anyone else who is waiting in the waiting room right now? Okay, Amit Deshmukh and Parth Sarda. Okay. So the ID of this component is email in. I am going to, so the students who have joined late, I would like to tell you that we are here we are designing a two-way communication system. This is the first screen and this is the button for which we are defining a code. Now when the user will hit this button, I would like a table with name users to get created on the data browser connected to this app, in which I would like to get these two information to be saved. One is this email thing and the second one is the password. So the password he's going to enter, the name of that component is password in. So I'm going to replace this email in with password in. Fine. So now a table is going to get created. Then once the table gets created, I would like, in order to make it more interactive, let's make use of this play sound block and put it over here. Let's convert it back into block-based coding, and I'm gonna select a sound from this sound library. Let's select this one. Not this one is not good. Okay, this one is fine. So I'm going to select this sound, and after this, in order to redirect the user on this screen 8, what we can do, we can define a set screen block over here. So this is going to help us in redirecting the user on this screen 8. Fine. Now once the table gets successfully created and all the information which the user has entered here on the sign in screen gets stored in this table, the user is going to come on this screen 8. Fine. So there is an image button which I have defined over here. Now what I want is, when the user will hit this image button, he should get redirected on this screen 9. This is the first thing which I want. So for doing that, again, I'm going to define an uneven block and put it over here. Fine. And what is the ID of this image button which I have got on this screen 8? It is image 13. So from this drop down over here, I'm going to select image 13. Just hold on for a moment. Okay. So from this drop down, I am selecting image 13. Who is this waiting in the waiting room? Let me give them the permission to enter. Fine. Then I would like the user to get redirected on this screen 9. So for doing that, again, I'm going to define the set screen block over here and replacing this one with 9. So when the user will hit this image 13, he's going to get redirected on this screen 9, where he'll get to see these kind of things. Now here there is a label box which I have placed right in the bottom, in the top, at the top of this text input box. Now with whatever ID the user has created his profile, I would like that ID to get reflected over here in place of this label box. So for
Sir, we
doing
can
that,
use
what I can,
set text.
hold on for a moment here. I am doing that only. So for doing that, what we can do, we can make use of get text block. Okay, and we can put it over here like this. So sorry, not get text, but
Set text.
we need to use set text. What is the idea of this component? The idea of this component is sender email. Okay, I'm going to copy it from this properties part, and let's come on this coding part again. And I'm going to replace this ID with sender email, the ID of this label box. Now I would like to see here the ID of the user. So for doing that, we can make use of this get text property, and the name of the component where the user has entered his ID. Beta Bhishma, can you please hold on for a moment? Just put yourself on mute. So the ID where the user enter the profile, the component in which the user entered his ID while creating his profile was this. The ID of this component is email in. So we need to replace this ID with the ID of this component, that is email in. So from here we are going to get the ID of the user, and we are going to get it reflected on this screen 9 in place of this label box using this simple code which I have defined over here. Fine. Now this is the first thing. Second thing which I would like to do is, I would like the IDs of all the users who have created their profile on this platform to get reflected over here in this drop down. Okay, suppose there are 5 users or 6 users. I would like their IDs to get reflected over here in this drop down. So how can I do that? Now, what I am trying to do here, I'm trying to pull the information from a particular table and I'm trying to pull the information of more than one users at a particular time. Fine.
We can
So
make use of a list.
absolutely right, Himarsha, but as I've told you, you have to put yourself on mute. Please be on mute till I'm done with my part. Okay, till I'm done with explaining my part. So what we can do, we can make use of a collection. Okay, we can make use of a collection type of variable, and generally with this drop down, if you'll talk about this drop down, we generally make use of list variable in order to collect more than two information for this drop down. So what we are going to do, first of all, we are going to define the read records block, because we need to fetch the records from this table named users, which is going to get created when the user will hit the submit button present on the sign in screen. So we are trying to get the information from this users table. Now I would like to, because we are trying to fetch all the email IDs. Okay, so for that we need a collection type of variable. So for here, for this I'm going to make use of let's define a variable over here. Let's say email. Okay, and equal to, so this is a list type of variable which I've defined over here. If you will recall, you will be able to remember that this list type of variable, about this thing we studied in that lecture where we talked about cascading drop downs. Okay, so here also we are going to make use of this list variable in order to fetch all the IDs of all the people who have got their profiles registered on this platform. Now, the second thing which we are going to do is we need to append all the items to this list variable. So this is the function append item. Just remember the name of this function. We need to append all the items to this list variable. How we can do that? Using the simple records.i, and the emails are getting saved in this column, the name of which is, actually it should be email, it should not be name. Okay, so I have changed the column name to email. Fine, and the second column name, the name of the second column is password. So from this column I'm going to get the email IDs of all the people. Fine, and through this code I'm going to append all the items. I'm going to add all the items, that is all the email IDs, to this email list variable. Now once you're done with that, you need to come out of this for loop. This is the point where this for loop is ending. Okay, you need to come out of this for loop, and then what you have to do, you need to set the property of this drop down. So for setting the property of a particular component, we guys can make use of this set property block, and like you need to put it over here. The ID of this component is drop down 4. We need to replace it with drop down 4, and then it is options which we need to define for this drop down, and the list The name of the list variable is email, so I'm going to put it over here. Fine. That's how you can fetch the names of all the IDs, which IDs of all the people who are going to create their profiles on this platform. Fine. Now let's talk about the third part. Now, once the user is done with, once we are done with fetching all the IDs in this drop down, this user who is using this panel, now if suppose he want to send some message to a particular person whose ID he can select from this drop down. Okay, so how can he send a message to that person? For doing the same, what we can do, there is a button over here, the name of which is image 14. Okay, so here I am, let me just rename these IDs first, because text underscore input one is somewhat, it is not good. So I am renaming the ID of this input box to message box. Okay, and of this, the ID of this one, let it be send. Okay, so with this button over here, the user can send the message. Now let's come back on this coding part. So now I'm going to define the code for this send button. Let's place it over here. The ID of this button is send. Okay, and when the user will hit this send button, what should happen? So whatever message he's going to type here in this message box, it should get saved first in a particular table. Okay, remember this thing, when you're making a two-way communication system, or when you're making a messenger kind of system, so what you have to do, you have to first save the messages of the sender, the person who is actually sending the messages. You need to save them first in a table from which the receiver can pull all the information. Okay, so remember this concept of sending and receiving. You need to first save the message in a particular table, and then the receiver who is going to receive that message, okay, he can use that table. He can fetch the details of the message, or he can fetch the message from that table which is going to get created, okay, in which the message is going to get saved. Now for that, what we can do, we can come on this data part, and here again we are going to make use of this create record block. Is there anyone in the waiting room right now? No. So I am going to create a table now. See, when you are creating a two-way communication system or a messenger kind of thing, the trick that you have to use now for creating this table in which you are going to save three information: sender's information, a receiver's information, and the message which the sender want to send to the receiver. The trick that you have to use for naming this table is this. Just pay attention on this thing. Okay, it is a very important part of this lecture. What you have to do, you have to concatenate the IDs of this sender and receiver. With that concatenated part, you have to form the name of the table in which you will be saving all the three information: sender's email ID, receiver's email ID, and the message which the sender has to send to the receiver. This is the trick. Remember this thing. Okay, so how can I concatenate the IDs of these two things? By using a concatenation operator, that is plus. So first of all, I'm going to get the ID of the sender. So this is the sender. All right, for getting the ID of the sender, I am going to make use of this get text block and put it over here. ID of this component is sender email, so we need to replace this with sender email. Fine, and then we can concatenate it with the receiver's ID. The receiver's ID is going to get reflected over here in this drop down. So the ID of this component is drop down 4. We are going to copy this whole thing from here, and we are going to put it over here. ID of this component is drop down 4. I am replacing it with drop down 4 like this. Fine. Now this will be the name of the table.
So,
Okay, this is going to be the
so,
name of the table. Yes, dear.
so someone is annotating at the
Okay.
top right corner.
of your screen. Yes, now it's erased.
Okay, so
It's
now
Krishna class.
I'm going to save three things in this table. One is the sender's ID. So sender's ID, I'm going to get it from here. Okay, then it is receiver's ID. So this is the first thing that you need to remember. The name with which you need to create this table in which all these three information you're going to store. So message is going to come from the ID of this component is message box. So let's rename it to message box. Fine. And to make it more interactive, let's set a sound here. So this is a sound. Now let's check out whether the code we have defined over here, is it working fine or not. So for doing that, let's hit the share button and copy this link. And I'm going to run it on three different tabs.
Sir, we can also download our code.org project like an APK.
I know that. So what we are going to do, we are going to run this app on three different browsers and check out whether it is going to give us the desired result or not. See, downloading the app or making the app, making it visible on Google Play Store, it is very simple. One thing that you need to focus on is coding. Okay, this is the only thing which you have to focus on right now. So I'm going to create three different profiles in three different browsers. Now you can assume them as, three different devices. Right now, there are three different devices which you are seeing. You can assume it like this. So I'm going to create first profile with my own name. Fine. Let's hit the submit button. Okay, let's now create the second profile with this name. And here I'm going to create a third profile with this name. So right now there are three different profiles present on this platform. Let's now check whether a table with name users have got created or not on this data browser. So there is a table in which all the information which these users have entered is getting reflected. Fine. Now let's come back on those three browsers. Let's set this image button over here and see what's going to happen. So we have got redirected on this screen. Now here, if you'll see, the IDs of all the three people whose profile is there on this platform is getting reflected, right? Similarly, if you'll hit this screen, here also you're going to see the IDs of all the three people, and here also you're going to see the IDs of all the three people. Fine. Now let's do one thing. This is Gaurav's profile. This is Gaurav's panel. How can we say that this is Gaurav's panel? His ID is getting reflected over here. That's the reason why I defined a label box over here. So that in order to get the ID of the user of this panel reflected here. Okay. Now this is Gaurav's panel. This is Arnav's panel. Now using this Gaurav's panel, I'm going to send a message to Arnav. Okay, and let's send this message. Hi Arnav, how are you doing? Fine, let's send this message to Arnav. So for sending this message, we need to hit this send button, right? One thing which I'm not finding interesting is, this text should have gone disappeared, but it is still getting reflected. So we need to code for that. We need to make some changes in the code of this code that we have defined for this button. That's what we are going to do first.
And
But
sir should also appear in the screen.
Before that, I would like to show you the table that has got created. So this is the table which have got created. So Gaurav has sent the message to Arnav. So that is the reason, the table with name like this have got created on the data browser. Fine. Now inside this, you can check out the sender's email ID also, the receiver's email ID also, and this message which Gaurav has sent to Arnav. Fine. Now let's make some changes in the coding of this button over here. Let's change it to text-based code first. And the first thing that I would like to do is, see, once the user is done with hitting that send button, I don't want to see anything in the message box. So for making everything go disappear from the message box, we can make use of the set text ID, right? We can make use of this block, put it over here. The ID of this component is message box. Okay, and I would like everything to go disappear. So that's how I can do it. Fine. And one more thing that I would like to do is, whatever message he has typed here, the user has typed here, it should get reflected over here in this text area. Let's change the name of this text area to let's say message area. Okay, so whatever message the user is going to type here, I would like that to get reflected over here. Now I am going to write down that code right on the top here. Why am I writing this code right on the top? It is just because here everything is going to get disappear. So either you can write down this code, set text. We are setting the text of this component, the name of which is message area. And we are getting the text for this message area from which component? We are getting it from get text message box. Okay. So either you can write it down here or you can write it down here, but don't put it after this, because then nothing will be visible to you. Why? Because already this code, what this code is doing, this is making the value of this message box go empty. It is make it here we have defined the value for this message box as empty. So that is the reason nothing is going to be visible to you here if you are going to put this code after this thing. Okay, so I'm going to put it over here. Let's now run this app one more time and check out whether it is going to give us the desired output or not. So I'm going to copy paste this link over here. Here also I'm going to do the same thing, and on this one also I'm going to do the same thing. So now I'm going to create 3 more profiles on this platform. Let's create one with this name, Laranya. Okay, let's set the submit button. One with name Dia 123. akshay@gmail.com, akshay123. So now in total there are 6 different profiles which are there on this platform. Let's set this screen and see what's going to happen. So as you can see in this drop down, I'm able to see all the 6 IDs, right? And here also in this drop down, I'm able to see all the 6 IDs, and here also I'm able to see all the 6 IDs. Fine. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make use of this Laranya's panel, and we'll try and send a message to Akshay. So for doing that, hi Akshay, how was the meeting with the boss today? Okay, let's set the send button and see what's gonna happen.
Sir, please choose Akshay.
Okay, and this is how.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, this is sent to Gaurav, not Akshay. Because
Oh,
in
sorry.
you can choose.
Yes,
absolutely,
sir.
absolutely right. We need to change the ID from here, no? Absolutely right here. So now, okay, just a second. I think now it is fine. Okay, now we have sent it to Akshay.
Yes, sir.
Now let's come back on this tab over here and check out the tables which have got created. So see, these tables have got created over here. So Laranya has sent a message to Gaurav and Laranya has sent a message to Akshay. Fine. So that's how you can. This is one-way communication right now. Okay, how the receiver is going to receive the message, how he is going to respond to the message sent by the sender. That's what we are going to check out in the next lecture. I am sharing the link of this app with you guys now. Okay, in the chat box, just check the chat box and let me know if you have received the link or not. Where is that chat box?
You will not send the link to the WhatsApp.
Sir, chat is disabled.
Yes,
Have
chat
you
is
got,
disabled.
just check out whether you have got the
Sir,
link or not.
I found.
You have received the link now.